I'm Katherine Stone. I am from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. I marched with the Eden Prairie High School indoor drumline from 2014 to 2018. I was part of River City Rhythm Drum and Bugle Corps as their drum major in 2018 and 2019. I went on to do synth at George Mason University indoor drumline. I have been serving as one of their front ensemble section leaders, which is really fun. Yeah, so my freshman year in marching band, one of my drum majors, his name was Justin, because he was so willing to always interact with everybody, make friends, relate to them, and I was really inspired by his friendliness. So that's been one of the people that has really inspired me while I've been a leader.
Hi, I'm Mack Steinberg. I am from Forest Lake, Minnesota. I spent 4 years participating in the Forest Lake Winter Drumline. And then after that, I got to be a part of Minnesota Brass Indoor for 2 years. And I also marched with Boston Crusaders for 1 year and then Blue Devils for 2 summers. And I got to be the section leader of the Blue Devils for my second summer and 2 seasons with RCC Indoor Percussion. And I got to be the section leader as well for my last season there.
Yeah, my name is Nicholas, and I'm from Buffalo, Minnesota originally. I was a part of Buffalo High School, their indoor drumline, for pretty much every year I was in high school. And then I did Minnesota Brass Indoor in 2012, and then 2015, 16, and 17. I ended up marching Minnesota Brass Outdoor. I did the 2013 season, and then I also marched Blue Knights Drum Corps in 2014 and 2016, and Blue Devils in 2017 and 2018. And then that led me to California, and I did RCC Indoor in 2018 and 19. And then
coming straight out of high school, I got to be a part of Minnesota Brass Drum and Bugle Corps. Really specifically, I think it was really awesome to have a section leader like
Erin Van Berkeley.
She was a really good example of a strong work ethic, good leadership skills, while still being very welcoming, nurturing.
She always held herself accountable and us accountable, like no matter what. And I've noticed, I mean, she was so thorough and so, she would always do the right thing. I felt like when people weren't watching, she just excels in anything she puts her mind to. And that's something that always really inspired me about Erin.
I saw a lot of growth in myself, just getting placed next to her and getting led by example for a whole summer. So that was really cool. And I took with me a lot of what she taught us and how mature and level-headed she kept herself throughout the summer.
So my name is Tiffany Kostuch. I'm from Menominee, Wisconsin. I started off in MPA in the Menominee Winter Drumlines, the regional A group that's over there. I also marched in Minnesota Brass in 2016. I marched some college stuff at UW-Eau Claire when I was there. Nationally, I marched Colts in 2015, so the drum corps that's there. I've worked with RCR on staff. I've worked with Minnesota Brass as a staff member as well, and I am now currently on the Spirit of Atlanta visual team. My largest example of leadership is actually with the current caption head that I work under at Spirit of Atlanta. His name is Chris Johnson. He was my visual instructor at Colts, and he really showcased, I think the perfect balance of leading through example and then also leading through work ethic. It's important in leadership to be a vocal member, like a very pronounced voice in how you want your leadership style to go, what direction you want to go, the things that you want to see in your own organization. But that also starts from the way that you act with people. It starts from how do you hold yourself. It starts from what are you willing to commit to better yourself, to better your organization. And so I think the work ethic that he really taught me, the really nitty gritty details, spending time to build upon those things, that type of work ethic, I think that you start to see so much improvement in not only yourself, but then you're able to model that behavior for the others around you. And I think it just helps organizations become so much more effective in when they're rehearsing, and it helps them just become more cohesive as an entire ensemble.
So my name is Tsuchiya. I grew up in Eden Prairie, Minnesota, and I was a part of the Eden Prairie High School drumline all 4 years of high school. and served as snare drum section leader for a couple of years, as well as the battery captain my senior year. I then marched 4 years of Minnesota Brass Indoor, and served as the snare section leader for 3 of those 4. Marched drum corps with the Bluecoats Drum and Bugle Corps from 2015 through 2017. My last year, I was the battery section leader and snare section leader. And I spent my last year of winter eligibility in California with Broken City Percussion, partially because like I felt like I had it in me. But I think it was mainly because of the personal growth and fulfillment that I would get out of a leadership role. I went into kind of every leadership position I had knowing that it was going to be a challenge. I would learn a lot about, how to be a leader, how to work well with others, how to make informed decisions, how to hold myself accountable. And that those things would kind of transcend the marching arts and be very translatable skills in school and even once I graduated and started working. Plus, I really loved my time in the activity and loved the organizations I was a part of. So, being able to be even more involved with those groups in that way and helping others also have a good member experience was something I really got a fulfillment out of. Being a good member, being responsible, and showing that showing the staff that you can be relied on. I think that was a big thing, like showing the staff that they don't have to worry about you with added power, I think is really important. And there are little ways to do that, but just what it all boils down to, I think, is just being a good member and doing your job right, being respectful and being teachable and humble. I think all plays into just what qualifies you to be a good leader with the Bluecoats or whoever.
My name is Brett McLellan. I'm from Green Bay, Wisconsin. I marched Minnesota Brass in 2018, and then I marched Music City Mystique in 2019. And then during those years, I was also a member of the Madison Scouts Drum and Bugle Corps. I was a member from 2017 to 2018. In 2018, I was the section leader of the front ensemble for that year, as well as I was also awarded the Madison Scout of the Year award. What drove me to take a leadership position at the Scouts was, well, first they asked, which I was very thankful for. They asked just outright. They're like, "Hey, we think you'd be really awesome as a leadership position." I hadn't even expected it at first. Generally, up until that point, I hadn't really thought of myself as a leader. But then I took a moment to kind of think about it, and I kind of reflected on my own personal experiences, and like, usually leaders aren't necessarily born, but they're crafted, like over time. So I realized at that moment, getting offered that spot, I was like, okay, I'm ready to be a section leader. And from that kind of moment on, I kind of took that and ran with it 200%.
Sure. So my name is Zach Fitzgibbon. I'm originally from Eden Prairie, Minnesota. Spent 3 years with EP in the MPA circuit. And then I moved on, went to college, ended up marching Minnesota Brass Indoor for 4 years. Spent my age out year at Broken City out in SCPA. Wound up my last 2 years at Bluecoats, and I was fortunate enough my age out year, I guess battery captain, drum sergeant, whatever. Each corps kind of has a term for it. But yeah, it was me. I was sort of in charge of the percussion section. I think more or less people have seen the graphic. It's like between a leader and a boss, and it's like people like stick figures pulling a desk, and the boss is like sitting on the desk being pulled, and the leader is like at the front of the group helping them pull the desk. I don't know. I see that in my mind all the time, and when I hear power, I think we hear, at least personally, I hear power and I affiliate that with a leadership role in a negative way. Even though power isn't innately a negative word, I think in that sense, it's generally like a negative thing, at least for me. That's how I feel. So again, speaking a little bit about what I talked about with my leadership style, I really just tried to like do the thing and show people what to do by doing it. Like this is like, I'm going to be first everywhere. We're going to move quickly. We're going to rehearse well. We're going to stay set. You know, we're going to march this way. We're going to move as a unit. I don't know. Coming back to the power thing, there are like those tiny moments where decisions have to be made. I think that's where the argument of power could come in. But I think I like the word like decision making better. That seems a little bit more of a softer euphemism than power. But just like drum corps is a fast moving thing. And sometimes like it's not necessarily the best decision that has to be made, it's the quickest one. And in that case, like gathering a jury of your peers and like voting on something or talking about something over, like you've already wasted an hour. And sometimes that's all you have in drum corps, or even less. So there were moments when I had to make tough decisions alone for the sake of the battery. And I you could call that power. Like I had the authority to, because I was given that position, but I really did my best that unless the case was that like severe of a time crunch, I really tried to cater to like, what do you guys want to do? Like what's going to work best for us as a team?
Hi, I'm Joanna Stubbins. I played cymbals at Minnesota Brass Indoor from 2015 to 2018. I also marched Oregon Crusaders in 2017 as an assistant drum major. What I think makes a really good leader is someone who leads by example and someone who is there for their peers and really is that person that they can go to with questions. If they need help, they're always there to give their advice. Being a good leader is more about being in service to your friends and your peers and as well as your organization. You're really that person who can help other people be the best member that they can be, whether that's taking a sec on a water break to run a segment with someone who is maybe struggling a little bit, or simply just offering your help outside of rehearsal. Yeah, really just being there to help others.
So in the summer of 2015, when I was with Colts, I think we were already on tour. So we're driving state to state, you know, right in the thick of it, long rehearsal days, you know, we're exhausted traveling on a bus every night. And we had completely revamped our third movement. Like it was total expression change, total concept change. So we're learning on the road, which is extremely difficult and trying for both staff and membership. And I got to a point, even though I wasn't necessarily appointed a leadership role that season, I was still amongst some of the older members, and I didn't really need to have a leadership role to be able to take on leadership qualities, especially with our younger members. I got to a point where I just recognized the importance of understanding things that you can impact and the things that you can change, and then recognizing the things that you can do within the situation that you're presented with. And so once I took a step back and then just let all of the other worry from things that I couldn't control leave me, then it was so much easier to focus. Like, I just want to be excellent at the things that I can do, and I want to help, you know, my friends next to me be excellent at the things that they're able to do, and so that we can be excellent together. And that really starts a chain reaction, I think, as well. Once even one member decides to take that perspective and we start to spread that amongst the membership, then suddenly the entire ensemble becomes more cohesive, and then it's so much easier to get more things accomplished faster. So that was probably one of my biggest leadership lessons, not even in a leadership role, if that makes sense.
I think I had this idea of what a leader is supposed to be, and I thought it was telling people what to do. I thought it was knowing everything about everyone and all the intricacies of what's going on. I thought it all like, I thought it was all my responsibility all the time, and especially on tour, you know, full season of all day, every day rehearsing and competitions, that got to be a lot. And wasn't really sure why. So I received a lot of help and assistance from the staff trying to figure out what that actually meant. And I was able to go into my last season of indoor also as a section leader with a lot more trust in the members of my front ensemble and realizing that it's not all my responsibility to know everything. And if like I have a ton of capable and amazing people next to me that also have a ton of gifts and talents that they bring to the table. And it's okay to delegate things, but it's also okay to trust all the other people around you that they know what they're doing and kind of chillax a little bit more, you know?
Specifically in 2018, there was a lot of challenges as a leader. So there was a lot of ups and downs that season. For a lot of members at the time, making finals the year before, and then now we're 16th place, a lot of people viewed that as a defeat. Personally, however, I took that particular message as a challenge. As a leader, how can, even in dire situations, how can we maximize group potential, even when maybe your competitive scores don't necessarily reflect, the maximum amount of group potential? Because everyone always says this, but group scores honestly mean nothing. If your group and the group that you lead felt like they gave it everything and that you grew to be the best possible types of performers that you could possibly be, then that's mission success right there. You don't need anything else to feel fulfilled as a musician than that, because at the end of the day the numbers are meaningless, but the experiences mean everything.
I think as far as success goes, like I think it was that I was always really proud of what we were able to accomplish, regardless of like score or placement. In the end, like it can be really easy to get lost in the competitive aspect of things, especially when you're at the top of the activity, like in the Blue Coats, the Broken Cities of the world. But I always try to not get too caught up in that and focus more on, the pride I took in the product and the craft, as well as the great connections and lifelong friendships I made with the people I was doing it with. So that's what success, I think, looks like in this activity, true success. And I think having that mentality and instilling that in your peers is definitely something a leader should do. But what challenged me most, I think, was imposter syndrome. I, found myself feeling really intimidated. Like I was, becoming a part of this really long list of legendary leaders of Lucas Drumline, people I looked up to for forever. And, who was I, just some like skinny Asian kid from Minnesota, to insert myself on that list, right? But I had to kind of more or less just place trust in that I was put in that position for a reason, and that I could kind of trust my experience and people's skills to be a strong leader. And that was challenging for me, for sure. But I at least like to think it turned out okay in the end.
So I would say one of my favorite moments was in 2012, going to Dayton for the first time. I had never been there. I was 15, and like we did just that feeling of going down that tunnel for the first time and like hearing the noise behind that curtain. I don't know what it was, but it made something stick with me that made me want to keep doing it. It was like this addictive feeling. And just the feeling, and then going to the award ceremony afterwards was amazing.
I mean, I marched for so long. I marched for 16 straight seasons, for 8 straight years, including like college bands in there and the Skull Line stuff, which I'm still a part of. So like I did it for a long time, and I love that. It was like serious and militaristic. But then like you finish rehearsal and you go load the truck, and then we like dance around and smack each other while we clean up the gym. It's like two like completely different spectrums of things, and I love that like those happen within an hour.
One of my favorite memories actually happened every year at MPA finals. Whenever we had our retreat, that was always so much fun. We got the glow sticks.
It was always so much fun to have everyone all together on the floor.
And we got to stand right next to Minnesota Brass. And it was really cool as a high schooler to stand right next to them.
Get to know some of the kids if they would come up and just say like, oh my gosh, you're in Minnesota Brass, that's so great. And then just like getting to have those little interactions and
see them for the goofy, the kind, and the talented players that they were right up close. And that was really fun every single year.
So all of the things that you naturally do to perfect your craft and to perfect your show are things that you can take with you as a person, as a human, to further develop yourself and to further, whatever it is that you want to do in life. All of these things are life skills, even though it's in the lens of music or in the lens of marching. They're all life skills that are incredibly universal for ways that you can become a better person. And
always go the extra mile and push really hard in whatever I do, like always strive for excellence. Like that's really been instilled in my head, is doing like the absolute most. And then the other thing too, that I was thinking about recently is punctuality. That's been like drilled into my brain ever since. And I'm like never late to stuff because of that.
So many soft skills that I learned during doing drumline that I apply to my day-to-day, my creativity, my work ethic, my ability to lead, my ability to think critically, all of that I can even attribute all the way back to high school when I was in the Eden Prairie drumline. So I definitely am super, super thankful for my time in MPA and the marching activity as a whole, really, and wouldn't trade it for anything.
Preparation. The amount of preparation will always help you. If you feel like you prepare as best as possible, then you will always find yourself in better situations than not.
Balancing everything. But MPA, like, you are essentially balancing two lives. Like your weekend is one life and your weekday is another life. 4 hours Friday night, 18 hours Saturday, and then another 6 hours on Sunday. And then I still had time to get my assignments done, do all that other stuff. And all it took was just me, like, again, budgeting my time, making schedules, making sure that I planned ahead. And that's a huge skill that I learned from MPA.
Thank you to MPA for having me.
Thank you guys.
Hey, thanks for spending your time with me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Best of luck.
Thanks so much.
Appreciative.
bye.